Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I feel really compelled to do something a little bit different here. Yes, I have this video put in the True Review series, and in a way it is. I feel like I really need to talk about this line. This is the Transformers The Last Night toy line that is just hitting retail now. It's been out in some places a little bit prematurely, and I'm going to do specific reviews coming up for Berserker and for Barricade, but I really feel like there's a lot to say about this line. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a discussion / rant about what we know so far and what I think about the line so far. So we're going to call this the GotBot True Review of the Transformers Last Night Movieverse Toy Line Overview. Yeah, okay, I know, that's a long name, but you get the idea. Stick around, grab yourself, maybe some popcorn or chips. I have myself a cup of coffee, because there's actually surprisingly a lot that really needs to be said here. Okay folks, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, share, check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor. Have a look at Universal Collision and whatever else is on the channel that might catch your interest. Check me out everywhere. And I'm going to start things off by saying that I am not one of these people that is anti-movie franchise, anti-Bayverse. I'm not. I have always enjoyed the movies for what they are. I don't feel like it destroys my childhood, and I get it for some people. The aesthetic is definitely unique, certainly different. I get the gripe. But I've always kind of taken it as, you know what, it's going to be sort of stylized because of what it is. It's kind of its own beast, so to speak. Have there been plot holes and whatnot? Yeah, sure, of course there have over the years. Do I care? Not really. As long as there's giant robots that turn into things on my screen, and one faction's called Autobots and the other's called Decepticons, and they battle for relics, artifacts, planets, whatever. Do I think the movies are perfect? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. Am I looking forward to The Last Night? I am. But I think part of it is because I see all of these bits and pieces and I can't possibly imagine how it's going to come together. Might it be a glorious disaster? Possibly. Might it be good and get things back on track? Possibly. That remains to be seen. But of course, as is always the case, and it was so with the first movie, and Revenge of the Fallen, and Dark of the Moon, and Age of Extinction, and now, again with this one, we have a line of figures coming out dedicated to the movie. And I took a lot of notes. Let's get something straight. I live in Canada, and for this line, and I get the business sense of it, for this line, we have seen price increases at the Deluxe level of $10 and at the Voyager level of $10. I'm guessing at least an increase of the same for leader class figures. So what is that going to mean? That's going to mean that Deluxe class figures are going to be $29.99, Voyagers $39.99, and I'm guessing that leaders are going to be anywhere from $64 to $69.99. Those prices are out to lunch. I got back into the collecting game sort of hardcore in 2012, and I can remember getting figures then for $12.95 to $14.95, and in 5 years we've seen it jump to over double the price? And for what? A box? Now, I know a lot of people will look at the economics of it and they're going to say, hey, you know, the exchange rate isn't great on the dollar. That's affecting it. Cost of doing business has gone up. That's affecting it. I get that. I agree with that. I understand it. Some people have even said that a line like Titan's Return has been, you know, kind of losing money because they didn't do the price increase. So now with this new line, they're instituting it here. But here's the problem. For what these guys provide, I think those prices are too high. And what's my proof of that? Here it is. A few years ago when Combiner War started, those Voyager figures started coming out at about $34.99. And they didn't move. Did not sell, didn't move off the shelves. People complained about it until it got dropped back to the typical $29.99. And then they started to move a bit. And even then, a lot of people waited for sales. I think that this line is going to warm shelves a lot until the prices drop. For two reasons. One, because I think collectors are looking at it and saying it's oversaturation. I'm not willing to pay that price. And because I think that parents are going to look at it and say that's overpriced for what it is if their kids want it. Now that we got the pricing thing out of the way, and I look at it and say, I don't think that these figures are worth that cost. Let's move on from there, because that's only one aspect. These are, of course, put in the toy section. However, the premier branding, from my understanding, is designed to put these more in line with collector driven series, I guess. Things like Star Wars Black Series or the Marvel Legends series. Yeah, okay, kids might get them, but they're really kind of geared toward collectors. That's important to note here, because as far as toys for kids go, I don't think that this line is going to be particularly attractive to them. I believe that while the robot modes look really cool and the vehicle modes look cool, I think that the transformations are going to be frustrating for kids. That's an important part to know. Who it is they're marketing all of this to. In this line, here's what I've seen so far. Turbo changers, one-stop changers, Knight Armor turbo changers. All of that is gimmick junk. Some people find them cute, and if you do, good on you. But I find, at least in my neck of the woods, that you see those things on the pegs and they don't move. They do not move until they're marked down to about 75% off. Because people don't really want them. They're not great. As far as I'm concerned, those things should not have been produced. Take the savings on paint and plastic and whatnot, take those cost savings and have a price reduction on what people are going to be looking for. Maybe that's just me, but I can only base it on what I see and hear, you know, in my area. Maybe in your area, one-step changers fly out the doors, who knows? But not around here. And I think that incorporating more of them is a setup for failure, in my estimation. And again, hey, who am I to talk? I'm just a nerd with a camera and a lot of strong opinions. I've heard a lot of rumblings on fan boards and across social media of a lot of people saying that they're not in for this line, or certainly not in for the entire, you know, the entire batch of releases that are going to come. And I certainly understand why. Because not only are they overpriced, but there is a sea of repaints for this entire series. Let's look first at the figures that are going to make up the, we'll say, the main lines and what we kind of know there so far. I've seen the 4 figures in the Legion class size for Wave 1. And again, they're retailing here at $9.99 for a Legion class figure. Now let's be straight here. Legends class and Legion class are 2 different things. Legion is smaller with more limited articulation. Usually, Legion class figures have shoulders that can move around and no elbows. Usually, they have ball joints at the hips and no knees. Usually, they do not have a waist or head rotation. So they are limited, but they are definitely the size class that is the most kid-friendly because they have quick and usually pretty easy transformations. So what does the first wave offer us? Well, it offers us Optimus Prime, which is the exact same mold that was used for the Legion class Dark of the Moon Optimus and the Age of Extinction Optimus. So if you know that figure, then you know this figure. Next is Barricade. If you know the Transformers Prime smokescreen Legion class figure, that little gray thing, you know Barricade. It's the same thing, and that was actually a pretty cool little toy. As is that Optimus. They're both pretty cool, it's just know what you're getting into. Truth is, though I haven't reviewed either of them on the channel, if I was to, I would give each of them an overall score of about a 7 for what they are. Then we have Grimlock. And Grimlock is basically the same Grimlock, repainted of course, that we had in the Age of Extinction line. And it is overall this guy, the Transformers Prime Ripper Snapper figure. I looked at him in full in episode 203 and gave him an overall score of about a 4.5. It's not particularly solid. The alt mode looks more like a beast, even though I understand why they would say, yeah, that's a T-Rex. Sure, even though there's a big gap in the body. And then we have Bumblebee, which is the same Bumblebee that we got in Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction. It's this guy, except now he looks more actual yellow than orange, and his hood has a slightly altered black deco, but it's the same thing. This bee is pretty cute. Again, I haven't looked at him. I will, so I'll save my thoughts for then. But again, for what he is, he's pretty cute. The paint is sort of rubbed off this one because he belongs to one of the Scraplets who loves bee. Let's move these boxes back here a bit and move these guys back a bit. So the Wave 1 Legions are figures that we've gotten before, just repainted. I don't know what to expect. We've heard that there will be a Legion class Crosshairs, Drift, Megatron, Hound, and Dragonstorm. I don't know what to expect with any of those. Hopefully they are all new molds, but Wave 1 is what it is. If you already have those figures, why would you get them again? If you didn't get them, hey, maybe you'll, be down for it. I certainly think that if you're considering buying this for kids, the Legion class ones are the ones to go with because they're the ones that kids will enjoy. So then that brings us, let's go right to the other end of the spectrum for just a moment. The Leader class figures. We've had 2 announced, basically. We've had Optimus and Megatron announced. The Optimus, it has been stated, is a reuse of the Age of Extinction Leader class mold, which had a lot of kibble on the back. I didn't have that figure. I haven't reviewed it on the channel. I don't want that figure. I don't think it's particularly good. It looks great, but with all that kibble, it severely hinders his posability. I would have given the paint apps for that guy a fairly high score, maybe about an 8. I would have given the posability, playability about a 2, 3. And the transformation was what it was 5, a 6 maybe. Overall, I think that Leader class Optimus would be about a 5, roughly. But I do think that the Leader class Megatron upcoming, And of course, that's going to be a new mold. I think that's going to be a hot item. And I think it's going to be great. But here's my problem. Do I think that that Leader Class Megatron is worth $70? Nope. Not a chance is it worth $70. Not a chance. At least for me. If you're really into the movie line, you might say, yeah, you know what? He's totally worth it. And maybe I will live to eat my own words. But at this point, I can only go on what my initial thoughts are. Let's move down to the Voyager size. By the way, no, I guess that's about it for there. Let's move down to the Voyager size. We've had Grimlock confirmed. I've seen the Grimlock. And guess what? It's a repaint of this guy. The Age of Extinction Grimlock. Ooh, they fell over naturally because I'm trying to do something here. I looked at this Grimlock in full and with a comparison to my custom painted or, well, custom touched up Fall of Cybertron Grimlock way back in episode 65. And I gave this guy an overall score of about an 8.5 or a 9 if you like the movie aesthetic. I would give the new one about the same. He looks great. There's more silver on the new one, and a lot of the places that are sort of a bronzy color on this guy are a gray on the new one. I think that it's this mold perfected. But if you already have this mold, should you go out and spend $40 on the new one? No! Why would you? The new Optimus Prime, I've seen it. I think it looks really cool. I think the paint apps on that thing are an easy 9. It looks really good in hand. The detailing is fantastic. I think the transformation is really interesting. I think that's about a 9. I think the articulation is about a 6.5. It's pretty good, but the problem is on that figure, the legs, because of truck kibble on the back, only bent to about 45 degrees. You're not going to get the most dynamic poses with him, as cool as he is. So my overall score for that Optimus, not having him in hand, I can tell you now, would be about an 8. He would be a good figure, but he would be hurt by that leg thing. Maybe even a 7.5 because of that leg thing. It would drive me nuts personally. But on the shelf, if that is what you have the intention of wanting, he'll look fantastic on the shelf. The other leaders that are Voyagers that we know of. Megatron, which I think looks amazing again. Hound, which I think looks more accurate than the last one we got. The paint seems like a really light green. I don't know if I like the paint as much, but it's probably more accurate. The molding certainly is. So I think those two could prove to be interesting. And then we have Scorn, who's been announced. I understand that a lot of people are probably going to be down for him because a lot of people had the complaint in the Age of Extinction line that the Dinobots should have been bigger. So having a Voyager class Scorn that looks as cool as he does is probably pretty justified. Again, is he $40 cool? Not to me. Especially when we had this guy. This is the Age of Extinction Deluxe class Scorn, who I really like. I gave him, and of course this is my custom painted version, I looked at him in full in episode 71. I gave him an overall score of about 9.7 to 9.9. Did a lot of custom work on this guy. Okay, yeah, I you know, by the way, that Grimlock I looked at in episode 65, if I didn't say that. I feel like the Voyagers are a bit of a mixed bag. I can see the appeal of some of them. It's just I think the price is too high. I think that they will end up selling when they go on sale for something more reasonable. I think that's what's going to happen there, personally. And then we come to the main crux of things. Actually, before we get to the main crux of things, we've had rumors of an Onslaught. A lot of people say that's based on the Dark of the Moon long haul. I really don't know. I'm not familiar with that figure. I'm not really familiar with this Onslaught. But I'm kind of indifferent to Onslaught. If we don't have the rest of the Combaticons, and if he's a big tow truck thing and not a Combaticon, then I really don't care. It's an arbitrary name on an arbitrary figure. And Nitro, okay, now Nitro got my attention. Nitro looks cool. I don't know what the story will be there, but you know what? I think I'm probably down for that. There's two more kind of rumors that I'll save for now. We'll get into the Deluxe class size now. Okay, well, like I said, I'm going to look at these two. And then what else makes up the rest of Wave 1? Well, Wave 1 is made up of Slash. Here's my custom Slash from Age of Extinction. It's the exact same toy, repainted. If you know the Age of Extinction Slash, then you realize that most of his body is blue with these kind of yellowy accents. The new scheme basically is a metallic blue, where the blue was on the other one, and where that yellowy color was is now like a silvery gray. Honestly, he does look a lot better. If you skip that Slash and you would like to add him to your Dinobot collection, I would consider going with the new one. But here's my question to you. If you didn't buy him and didn't want him at a time when he was $16.99, do you want him now at $29.99? Pretty much double. I don't think so. I don't think so. I looked at Slash in full in episode 70. I gave him an overall score of about a 6. He's not a standout. The robot mode or the Dino mode is great. The robot mode is not. And then we have the Age of Extinction Bumblebee. That's the fourth figure here. I don't have that figure. The Scrapless didn't want that figure from the last movie. I'm certainly not interested in it. And for the new movie, here's what I would say. The AOE one seemed like a bit of a orangey color along with the black. In fact, I felt like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like a lot of that figure was black plastic painted orange. Or orangey yellow, school bus yellow maybe. The new one seems like it is very like sun yellow with black paint apps. I think it's a lot more, you know, of that sort of plastic with black paint apps applied. I don't think it looks as nice. I really don't. It's not my thing. If you didn't want that bee, or if you got that bee in the AOE line when he was that lower price, do you really want to pay almost double for this new one? Maybe you do. Maybe it really calls to you and you think, wow, that looks perfect and beautiful. And if you do, more power to you. I just can't justify it. Well, what about Wave 2? Because we know Wave 2 as well. Wave 2 is going to be made up of Squeaks, who I think is probably going to sell well. I do not like that character already. I feel like he's going to be the, you know, wheelie, and I don't mean the movie wheelie, I mean like the G1 wheelie of the movie franchise. I think he's going to be just annoying. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll love Squeaks when I see the movie, but I'm not in for him at all at this point. Steelbane looks kind of cool in robot mode. I'm not digging that dragon mode at all. Not even a little bit. It looks too, I don't know, lanky, I guess, but I don't know what I'll think of Steelbane yet. I do appreciate the fact that both of them are new molds, and I think that's going to be the draw. Then we have, making up the rest of that wave, a repaint of Slug, who I've already looked at in episode 68. This is my custom painted version. I gave this guy a score, depending on if it's the retail we're talking about, that was that purple beast, or if it's this guy, a range of between 7.5 and a 9. So he scored pretty good. It's a good figure. I could see the draw again, but I go back to the price thing. And then we have, rounding out that second wave, Drift. I've closely looked at the new photography alongside this guy, and a lot of people have said, no, he's a brand new mold. No, he's not. No, he's not. The car pieces are remolded to look like the vehicle he turns into now, and the chest is remolded. Besides that, The arms, the abdomen, the legs, the feet, the hands, the head, everything else is exactly the same. The transformation will be exactly the same. I already looked at Drift in episode 60. I gave him an overall score of about an 8. I like him. Truth is, I like the paint scheme on the new one more. But I got this guy on sale for $8. I'm not paying 30 for him. Not a chance. And then we get to wave 3. And we're getting a new Bumblebee. So they say, okay. Alright. And that's my opinion on that. Because I think we're going to get a bunch of new bees. Especially with that, you know, I guess prequel movie coming out focusing on him. Whoa, what a sea of yellow to come. Then we have Crosshairs. And a lot of people again have said, new Crosshairs is a new mold. No, he's not. The arms, the forearms have been remolded. The car parts are a little bit remolded. Maybe the forearms will help the transformation, but here he is as hot shot. I never bothered to look at Crosshairs, never got him. The Scraplets own this guy. I looked at him in full. I can tell you this, unless those forearms that have been remolded on the new one significantly change the transformation and make it significantly easier, overall, I can already tell you that Crosshairs is not going to score well. I looked at this guy in episode 61 and he scored about a 3. It's not a good figure. And we also know that in wave 3, we're going to get, yet again, Strafe. This is my custom painted Strafe. Much like Slash, the new Strafe is going to be a mix of like a metallic powdery blue and like a silvery gray that looks really cool. It really does. I totally dig it. In fact, I looked at Strafe in episode 67. I gave him a score of about, I think it was about a 9. You know, he done really well. But again, now we're looking, you know, from one movie to the next, we're looking at pretty much a double the price. Is it worth it? That's up to you. I'm happy with this guy. I'm not getting him again. So, just to reiterate really quickly here, before I mention the last two things. The Grimlock is from Ripper Snapper. I looked at that in episode 203. Slash was episode 70. Drift was episode 60. Slug 68. And those are my custom ones. Crosshairs 61. Well, actually, Hotshot 61. Strafe 67. Grimlock 65. And I guess the Deluxe Scorn in episode 71. That's an awful lot in this line that's already been done. Now for the last two rumors, I suppose. Well, one is a rumor and one is a thing. And I need to reach over here and grab him. And I'll lay him aside. The rumor is that, in all likelihood, the Hot Rod character is going to be a remold, probably a fairly substantial remold. No, we'll move him over. Probably a fairly substantial remold of Lockdown. Now, that is not confirmed, that is pure rumor, but let's just, for fun, say that it is. I looked at Lockdown in full in episode 59. And I gave him a score of about an 8. I like him even though a lot of people didn't. If this mold is used for Hot Rod, I could see the justification for it. It's a different character. They would probably do some remolding, I would like to think. But I can totally understand why they would opt to do this. And I think that's okay. Again, is it worth, you know, $30? No, it's not. And that brings us to the last thing. People have talked about and been somewhat excited about the new combiner Infernicus. And I'm going to say this, Infernicus has a really cool name. Granted, the, I guess, body section of Infernicus is, as best as I can tell, a new mold, which I think is, you know, I think that's really cool. But at the end of the day, Infernicus is quite simply, and I'll put him back, it's quite simply this guy. And this is the Transformers Prime Abominus combiner. It's basically that combiner in a gray color. And I looked at that combiner in full when I looked at Ripper Snapper back in episode 203, and I gave the overall set about a 4.5 or 5. It's not the most posable. Maybe if they have a better torso, if that figure is better, maybe it will improve things. We'll have to wait and see. But right here, right now, in front of you, you can see that a lot of these have already been covered. A lot of these have already been released. A lot of these are just repaints at a significant price hike. I'm not really in for much of this line. I'm going to do these two and give my thoughts on them in full. The rest of them that are here, I've already done. My overall score for the last night Toyline is about a 4. I'm not impressed with it. I'm actually really disappointed by it. Hopefully that'll change as subsequent waves come out and we get more reveals and releases. We'll see. But right now, I really, you know, for the price that these are, I really feel hard pressed to recommend them to people. Outside of the Legion class ones for kids. And even those are overpriced as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, folks, let me know what you think. I know that this was kind of long and something different. I covered a whole lot of stuff here and a whole lot of thoughts. And if you've made it this far, I'd love to know your thoughts about different characters and figures and what you think of the movie line at this point. Anyway, thanks for giving me your time. Thanks for listening to my my rant here. And as always, I really want to say thank you and look forward to the next time that you and I get together for another visit right here inside the videos.